Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. My name is Jim. If we've never met before, thanks for hanging out with us today. This is the podcast that features hundreds of interviews with the successful students, or I could say successful fellow listeners to this podcast. That's right. We've built a bit of a flywheel here, meaning the listeners to our show apply what they've learned, build beautiful businesses, come back on our show and tell us about the insights and the strategies and the techniques, what they used to build that beautiful business, which creates more content for our show. That's what we've been doing. Got about 1,000 episodes at this point. We're coming up on 1,000. And the vast majority of them are interviews like one you're about to hear with successful students from our community. You'll hear everything on this show from people who are brand new, never made any money before online, were completely clueless newbies, and now they're having their first $5,000, $10,000, or $30,000 months selling online. Or, like you'll hear today, a multiple seven-figure, he's flirted a couple times and hit eight-figure business on Amazon, selling products, the strategies that we teach here. Now, we're all about multiple income streams, using e-commerce creatively. That's what we do in this community. But there's one specific model that we're more excited about than any other based on what we've seen. I've been in e-commerce for 22 years. I've seen all the imaginable business opportunities that are out there. If someone comes to us and says, hey, I'm willing to be trained, I'm willing to learn, I'm ready to work hard, I've got a little bit of cash to go into this thing to make it work. Flexibility of schedule, I can put 5, 10, maybe a few more hours a week into this. What do you got? If that's you, we've got the business model that we believe has the lowest hanging fruit opportunity, the lowest risk, lowest investment required, lowest learning curve, highest odds of success. It's helping fill Amazon's underserved shelf space. Amazon has hundreds of warehouses. More and more people every day are shopping online, buying from Amazon. You've seen the numbers. Half of all transactions online any given day, today included, approximately half of them are Amazon. That's a lot of shelf space to fill. There's a lot of opportunity there. That's what we do here. That's what we're going to interview today's guest about. His name is Doyl Peck. He's been in our community for quite some time, as he explains. Now, he discovered e-commerce before he found our community, but I loved hearing him explain how the relationships and the connections, the conversations, the tips, the strategies, the training, that all led to where he is now with a team of about 20 people that gives him the flexibility of schedule. He shares how he was able to be in the hospital with his wife for 5 weeks during a very difficult health challenge that they faced not too long ago. And his business just kept running. He did some work on his laptop in the room while he was there with her. But the flexibility that this lifestyle affords the great leaders and students in our community, that's why we're so excited about it. We want that for as many people as possible. And we see this business as affording you that opportunity. So if you're interested in building a business that you can be proud of, if you're interested in being a part of a community that can teach you these strategies based on what we've seen. We've done this. We've been coaching e-commerce for 22 years. We've had almost 10,000 students at this point. We'd love to show you what we can help you, how we can help you. So go to silentjimdotcom/book a call if you want to have a free consultation with our team, talk about the different ways we can help your business grow, starting where you are now and helping you move into the future with a beautiful business, a beautiful team supporting you, world-class content. Hey, let's have a conversation. But for now, let's jump over and enjoy this conversation with Doyl Peck. One other thing I want to point out, we're going to mention some resources and things today that'll all be in the show notes. He mentions Legends. That's kind of a smaller group within our larger group. It's for the more accomplished sellers. We say if you're doing about $10,000 or so a month online and e-commerce, and you want to hang out with some other people who have some momentum and they've already started to achieve in their business, it's a smaller mastermind almost, a few hundred people from our community. We've got information for you about Legends in the show notes. You can go to provenamazoncourse.com/legends to learn more about that group and how you can be a part of that, because it's been a big part of Doyle's journey as well. But thanks for hanging out with us today. Let's jump over and get into Doyle's story. You're going to enjoy this. So Doyle, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, man.
Glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to jump on with you and share.
Yeah, well, we worked hard to make this date and time work, and I'm so excited to jump into your story if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. We started our e-commerce journey in fall of 2008, so quite a while ago. We actually had another business, a wholesale business, and we were selling books. And one of my employees said, "Hey, we could sell these on Amazon." And we were actually buying from a distributor and had a great margin. So we were able to compete actually even with Amazon themselves. And so we started Merchant Fulfilled, sold thousands of dollars worth of these books the first Christmas, all Merchant Fulfilled. And then after that, we started looking for other products. We had just a few things that we found. I don't even remember. I think some arbitrage. And then that next February, I went to a conference at one of the community colleges. It was one of those day-long business conferences, and asked somebody that invited me whose class I should go to, and he told me which one. It was a teacher that had his own retail business, but turns out, because at that time I was in retail, so that's why he told me to go, and turns out he was also an Amazon seller, which he talked about during his hour-long class. And he was also a manufacturer's rep for toy companies. And so we jumped on a call afterwards, talked for a while, and he actually set us up in the toy business on Amazon back in the day when it was the wild, wild west. And any of these vendors would sell to anybody as long as you paid your bill. And so we started doing that, looking for a few other things. And that was 2009, and that was the year of the Zuzu pet when those came out. These
And
little
crazy. Yeah.
and somehow we fell onto that one, and Walmart was restricting the purchase of those to one per person of the actual pet, but they didn't care about all the accessories. And so we went out pretty much every night late when they were stocking their shelves and just wiped them out of all the new accessories that they were putting on the shelves
Right.
and sent that in. So that's kind of how we got into RA back before that was really even a thing. We started doing that, and we kept building the wholesale and moving along, looking for others. We found a couple other wholesalers locally that weren't toys and games and started selling those. And we were doing this side by side with our other business and growing the Amazon business along with that, which was really good. And, we just kind of slowly built the business. And back then, that was before I had heard of you. Really, we were doing it on our own with this help of this one other Amazon seller. Back then, there was not nearly as many tools. I'm not sure that Keepa was even there or what we were using, but we just kept building it and building it. And somewhere along the line, I got an email from somebody, and it was about this guy named Jim and this CES conference.
Yeah.
And
That's way
that was
back. That's what we used to call our proven conference. Yeah.
right. And that was the first introduction I had to this community, was through that. And I think the first conference I went to was in Nashville. And you always talk about being an introvert. Well, I'm introvert 10 times what you are. And I think I went to that first conference, and, I kind of took it all in, but I didn't really get involved, and went back, and we just kept doing what we were doing, grew the business, trying to find new products and new vendors. We were doing quite a bit of wholesale because our other business, we were able to buy products and put them on Amazon that we were putting in our stores. And so that helped us out back in the beginning to be able to do that and grow things. And then, it's businesses take turns and twists and turns. And
Yeah.
we were growing along. We were doing pretty good. And then I got really busy with the other business. And so I kind of turned it over to one of my employees, actually the one who had first suggested it. He was really good at finding products, but he was not so great on the money end of it. And I turned it over. And at one point, we actually moved into a second warehouse. And I just kind of let him run with it, which turned out to be a big mistake. It was probably 3 years into it. We got to the point where we were out of cash. We had a warehouse full of products that weren't selling. He had started selling on some other marketplaces back then, Newegg and eBay, buy.com, things like that. And he had decided at one point that he wanted to start his own business. And so he asked if he could buy us out, but he didn't have any money. And so he wanted to just pay us as he sold the product. And long story short, we had a kind of a disagreement and a parting of the ways. And he left to do his own thing. And we picked up the pieces, which took us about 6 months.
Now, what year was this? Would it have been approximately?
That was probably 2012, maybe.
Okay. So we're still a pretty good ways back in time. How much inventory would you say you guys had on hand at that point?
We probably had in the warehouse probably $200,000 or $300,000
Right.
worth of it.
So that's a scary place to be. So really, you're we're going to pick up to where you are now as part of the story, but kind of the lowest point you ever were was $200,000 or $300,000 worth of stuff you couldn't sell, warehouse, bill you had to pay, lease. Your most reliable worker turns out to be one of your biggest liabilities, and you're left to clean up the mess. That's a rough place to be, man.
Yeah, it was. And, with everything else going on. And so we started liquidating inventory, not buying more inventory, and turned our focus from merchant fulfilled to FBA. We had done FBA, and then he'd kind of transferred back to merchant fulfilled. And we had things that we sold a lot of. I remember one day we were selling, it was one of these little LED lights that has like 30 lights in it that you put in your garage and hang up. And we sold, I don't remember how many we sold, but when we printed out the orders that day, the stack of papers for the orders was 6 inches high.
The labels.
And most of those were one light at a time.
Right.
Turns out that he oversold it. So we had to try and find more from a vendor and get more in time. So anyway, we cleaned up the mess. He went on to do his own thing. 4 months later, Amazon, I remember it, we were going on a family vacation for Thanksgiving, and I get an email saying that Amazon's not going to pay us this week because they're holding our funds for an issue. And it took us about 4 days, and I had this friend help me figure it out. But apparently his name, this former employee's name, was still tied to our account somehow with a credit card or something.
Mm.
And he'd gotten in trouble with Amazon, and they linked the two accounts.
Right, because he had worked on both. Right.
And held our money.
Yeah, because probably he was logging in on his phone, and then even after he stopped logging in with that same phone, he's got his own account now. Yeah, you hear those kind of issues. It always happens around a family trip, I've noticed too. At least with me, that's been true. I've been doing this 22 years, and the family's getting excited about a vacation, and we got those dates circled on the calendar. I'm like holding my breath. I'm like, something's going to break. It always does.
Yep. And so that was, Thanksgiving. Amazon didn't pay us, didn't release that money to us till the middle of February.
Wow.
By the time we got it sorted out, we had to write letters and, prove that he wasn't part of us anymore. So,
right.
And our story, we started out just like anybody else. We've grown a long ways, but we've had our bumps, and, I can give you hope, and I can also scare you.
Sure, we all can.
By the time this was all said and done, I figure we lost over $100,000 in unsellable inventory and different things. And, it was just a lesson. to be careful at who you turn over what to and how fast type of thing, because luckily we were able to weather that storm, but not everybody would be able to. So, so we got past that point, got rid of the stuff and started building again. And this was back at the time when Amazon, when you told them you wanted to send something to them, they told you what warehouse to send it to. And if you had 6 of them, they send 2 here, 1 here, type of thing. So we were getting split at that point to 8 different warehouses, kind of like today. And so we put 8 blue squares on the floor and we'd pile those in there. And then when we had enough to fill a box, we'd send it in. And, at that point, that's where we were in our journey of just a little bit at a time, a few boxes a week. And then we started getting more and more and thinking, okay, maybe we can do pallets and send it LTL. And so we started doing that. Gradually, Amazon, of course, they change things, every 6 months, and they changed to where we weren't sending to so many warehouses. It was down to 2 or 3 warehouses, so we were able to do that, and just kept building it. And we just would add more employees as we needed them. We, at the point when we had this catastrophe a little bit back in there were just 3 of us. We had my son and my daughter, and then I had 1 other employee. And then we just kept adding as we grew, just slow. One of the things that we have never done with the business is we have never borrowed money. Now I have leveraged credit cards, but as far as
actually,
yeah, quite a bit actually. But as far as, taking out a loan from any of these providers that offer that, or Amazon even,
right,
would keep trying. We never did that. We just grew as we could afford to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kept growing that way. And we were doing a lot of replens before, like the replens course came out and everything. That was one of the things that we were doing, but we were also concentrating on the wholesale. And because that was a good way to get lots of products and not have to spend all night running around or all day going into stores and everything. And we've actually done RA and wholesale a little bit different than a lot of people do, and a lot of people see it. We don't look on Keepa to find products and then go source them. We find products and then we go look for listings for those products that we've already found. That's just how we got started, and that's kind of how we keep doing it. We actually still scan barcodes sometimes, and then we take that and go back and look for other listings, multi-packs, that type of thing. And we've actually built relationships with RA vendors that they're almost like a wholesale relationship, even though they're RA. We have, for example, one company that we buy from that basically supplies restaurants and businesses and stuff. And we could go in and buy stuff off the shelf, but over the course of time developing the relationship, we actually now order from them once a week. And if we order by the case, then they give us a 10% discount if we're willing to wait for them to order it in on their shipment. They put it together on a pallet for us and we go pick it up.
Huge price benefit. Yeah. Relationships are so vital. Absolutely. That's a great example.
That's one that we worked on, and they loved, especially during COVID, because their business died, but ours exploded.
Right. So your invoices got bigger. You were buying more than ever. Because more people started shopping online. Yeah, that 2020 bump, that spike in activity was pretty crazy.
I
And
mean, it
we've
was
never gone back to the reality from my vantage point. I mean, Amazon has grown every year since, as far as
yeah,
number of shoppers, dollar volume, right? It's just basically a 5-year leap into the future over the course of about 18 months. Yeah.
yeah, it totally changed the way probably all of us worked our Amazon business because you couldn't go into the store as easy, or if you did, you had to wait in line to get in, or the
Hmm.
shelves weren't full and all that kind of stuff. And so we relied more heavily on the vendors that we could order the stuff from. And we've done that with all types of vendors. We have some Walmarts that'll play with us and some that won't, that we've gotten to know the grocery manager and
Yep.
say, hey, we don't want to wipe you out, but would you order this in for us by the cases? And some of them will and some of them won't. We have a couple of local grocery chains that are just here in Utah or just here in the Mountain West that'll do the same thing for us. Just order cases in
Yes.
and go pick them up.
We had a local Vietnamese specialty food store where the guy that owns it has his kids there working with him, kind of, little store, and they would do whatever we wanted. Hey, could you order me a case of these? Could you give us a little discount? Those kind of relationships are priceless.
Yeah.
I've taught, so many times. I see people get into this and they just want to be anonymous, pull their hoodie up and put their music in their ears and go into the store and kind of get in, get out. And I hope no one knows I'm reselling this stuff. That's the wrong way to do this business. Build relationships, talk to the manager, introduce yourself, tell them about your business model. We've had times where they'll say, hey, you know what? You want to come in the back? Like, we've got stuff back here. If you want any of it, I'll give you a discount. We're trying to clear out the whole corner. Like, yeah, let me go take a look. Like, those stories pop up because you take the time to have conversations and build relationships. And it sounds like you've really capitalized on that.
Yeah, we have some of ours that one in particular that we've bought for several years. They know what we like. They know what products, and when things are hard to get, the person that runs around and does all the pickups, he'll get texts twice a week, usually at least, from them at 4 or 5 in the morning saying the truck came in, this showed up, you want some of it before we put it on the shelf.
Right.
And so that's been a boost for us. And we do the same thing with the wholesale. Like I said, I do wholesale a little bit different. I attend almost all the trade shows and I work with reps. And over the years, I've found the reps, for example, I have 6 different reps right now for toys and games because they all rep different lines. And I can work with the reps. They know what companies will let us sell on Amazon, which ones won't. And then they keep us apprised of any deals that they're offering, free freight, extra discounts, extra terms. We send the order to them. They place the order with the vendor. We have damaged product or whatever. They take care of that with the vendor. And so it works really nice. And the reps all know each other. And so they tell me about other reps that have other product lines or whatever. I just picked up a new rep with 20, had 20 new lines. And the reason I ended up with her is because one of our other reps lost a line that I was selling and she ended up with it. And so she contacted me because I was on their list.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out she's 3 miles from me. But in all these years, we had never crossed paths
Yeah.
because it never had any of her lines.
Yeah.
So now she went through all her lines and says, okay, these will let you sell, these won't. And so that's kind of been our approach to wholesale.
Relationships, reputation, people out there bird dogging for you say, yeah, these are good guys. They pay their bills on time. If they say they're going to place an order, they place an order. Right. And that reputation, just doing it over a period of time, has led you to where you guys are now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
We have several accounts that the only reason we have it is because the rep went to bat for us.
Mm-hmm. With the brand.
And said, hey, these guys are good. They know what they're doing. They're not fly by night. And so that's, a way that we continue to grow the business. We love the RA, but the wholesale's great too. So,
Yep. Yep.
and
Well, break your business down for me if you don't mind, like whatever numbers you're comfortable sharing. And what percentage is RA, going into brick and mortar stores and pulling off shelves? What percentage is wholesale? And what does your team look like? Those are the three biggest questions I've got in my mind right now.
right now we're probably about 60% wholesale and 40% RA.
Still
But
quite a bit. RA.
yeah, yeah, and like I say, it's not the RA that you just go into Walmart and
Fill a shopping cart. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we do some of that. I
Sure.
mean, I'm like you. I can't go grocery shopping
Right. I can't help it.
without looking. And I did that one night last December. I was going in to get a few things. It was a Saturday night at 7:00, and there was a local brand that they had changed packaging on the product and had the new packaging on the shelf, sells for $5. And Walmart, it's a multi-flavor thing. Walmart was selling 3 of the flavors for $1. They'd only been out 2 months. So I filled up my shopping cart, got everything I could find, and they said, yeah, this is it. And so I checked out. It was about $800 worth of stuff that I got. And then I headed to the next Walmart to see if we had them. I have 5 super centers within 20 minutes of my house.
Right.
So I went to the next one, nothing on sale. Went to the next one, nothing. So on my way back home, I went back into the same Walmart, and somebody knew that there was more, and they pulled more out, and it was sitting there right in front of the door. So I filled it up again. And as I checked out and went out the door, the greeter kind of laughed. Because he checked me out both times, and he said, "Give me your number. If we find any more, I'll call you."
Yeah.
And so it's just a happen chance thing, but we made a lot of money on that product, getting it at that price. So
Yeah.
so we do that, some of that, but a lot of our, like I say, a lot of our RA is working with the stores,
right.
so that we're buying it by the case.
Sure.
And not
hitting the aisles, clearing the shelves.
Not in the aisles going as much. I mean, we do some of that, but not a lot. The other thing with the wholesale is we've tried to concentrate too on local vendors that are right here that we can go pick up or they can deliver to us. 3 of our top 10 wholesale accounts are within 20 minutes of us.
Yeah. Saves you on the shipping, right? It gives you a big advantage. Local relationships, take them to lunch sometime, get to know them. A lot of advantages to working local in this business. A lot of local opportunity for most people. Even, smaller towns. The closest big city to you has loads of distributors and manufacturers and wholesalers, and get to know them. It can pay huge dividends.
Yeah, and the people outside of the area, they've got to pay the shipping, so it doesn't make as much sense for them. So
yep,
you have an advantage,
big price advantage
on that. And so we're about 60-40. It fluctuates a little bit depending on the time of year. Right now, we're maybe a little heavier wholesale because of all the toys and games and things for Christmas.
Do you do any online arbitrage, hitting websites?
We have our extent of online is 2 or 3 of our wholesalers or retailers that let us buy online, but we have never gone sourcing online.
I love it, because a lot of people think that that's what this business is now. It's just basically online sourcing and hitting websites and looking for deals and bargains and all that. No, you've built a very robust business with a nice team doing very well, and you've really never had to do that. It's been relationship driven. It's been looking for good prices through building relationships and making connections. It's almost, I would call it like business the old-fashioned way, some people may say, but that never goes out of style to do business the right way. Build relationships, get to know people, learn their name, introduce yourself, tell them what you do, and watch where it takes you. And for you guys, it's taking you some pretty great places. And you stayed fairly local with all of it too, which is part of your story I wasn't aware of.
we do a lot of local, and there's a lot of vendors, and in my 6 toy reps, 2 of them are local.
Hmm.
One of them is in Arizona, 2 of them are in Colorado, one of them's in California, but they cover Utah.
Right.
And so that's how we've built those relationships. And yeah, so the other thing that we've done, we started about, it was a year ago, just before Christmas, we started dabbling with Walmart
Oh,
and
you're selling on Walmart. Yeah.
selling
Right.
on Walmart.
What percentage of your business is there now that you've played with it for a year or so?
It's probably 10 to 15%.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we've
significant.
built it up quite fast with the product lines that we were already doing. The other thing that, and I don't exactly remember why, but this thought came to me at one of the trade shows. I think it was last January, to start asking the vendors who had cut us off on Amazon if we could sell on Walmart.
Right.
And a lot of them are okay with that. I had one that
Uh-huh.
I actually didn't know that they had cut us off because I hadn't ordered for a while because the prices had tanked on Amazon, and they were cleaning it up. And I went and met with the rep, and she says, "Yeah, they've taken you away from us, and they're doing all online sellers themselves." She even misunderstood. So we went and talked to the guy so I could place an order because the product was starting to become profitable again because they kicked everybody off. And he said, "No, you can't sell on Amazon. We don't want anybody on Amazon. And it's not just that you have to order, you can't order through the rep. It's just you can't do it." And I said, "Well, what about Walmart?" And he said, "Walmart's fair game." And this particular, it's a plush line that we sell. And since that time, we have probably ordered at least $70,000 worth of product from them to sell on Walmart.
I love it.
And we're one of the few that are selling Walmart fulfilled on the product, maybe because the others haven't asked. So I've gone
Yeah.
back to all the reps and said, "Okay,
Yeah.
ask everybody if we can do Walmart." And we've
One
had,
of the things we teach, Doyle, to people who are saying, I want to get into wholesale. One of the strategies that we've been teaching, I've shared it on the podcast a couple of times now, is don't go in saying, hey, I want to sell your stuff on Amazon. Odds are, especially if they're a larger wholesaler, they've been asked that question many times. But if you say, I can get you onto Walmart, does that sound interesting? Are you okay with that? They'll typically be far more open to that idea, which makes right now a great time to get into Walmart. It's not complicated. If you can sell on Amazon, you can sell on Walmart. If you can sell on eBay, you can sell on Walmart. There's a few nuances here and there, but we're really encouraging people to get in because the doors are very wide open. There for a long time, it was hard to get on Walmart as a new seller. Right now, it's not. It may be hard again in the future. Right now, it's not. So we're encouraging people, get your Walmart seller account set up. And that's just time for me to stick a little Post-it note on this episode and say, hey, if you want to learn how to sell on Walmart, be taught by some great people on our team, provenamazoncourse.com/Walmart. Great course. Go check it out and they'll get you rolling. But yeah, I love that you've kind of leveraged Walmart to get yourself back on the radar of some of these vendors that previously lost interest in you, or maybe the products just didn't make sense on Amazon anymore. And we're seeing the same thing too. The way our Walmart business has grown, Doyle, it's just the stuff we couldn't sell on Amazon. We're like, all right, well, let's just see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? Let's throw some on Walmart. And whoa, it's selling as fast as there as it was ever. And it's more profitable. The fee structure's more inclined to be in our favor on a lot of stuff. So yeah, we're loving Walmart right now as an add-on. And I like what you said about 10 to 15% of your business is there now. You kind of drifted there. I don't think they're going to replace Amazon anytime soon, volume wise. But wow, what a great backup to have in your pocket. Way better than eBay from our vantage point. Way better.
yeah, when eBay's, we haven't ever done anything on eBay. Well, we did, I guess, in the beginning but since we took it back over, we have not done any eBay, but the Walmart has done very well. And,
Right.
and a lot of these vendors, it goes back to the relationships. They cut me off one of them cut me off 4 years ago from Amazon. But every time I go to a trade show, I go and see them. I'm not sure if you were at Legends, but conference. But one of my things that we have done, and this goes back clear back to my previous business, was my wife loves to make homemade caramels, and she does different flavors of them. And we used to, in our previous business, when we did trade shows, we would have them there to pass out, and then I take them and I give them, take a little bag of them for the reps and take a little bag for the vendors. Well, some of these vendors that cut me off 4 or 5 years ago were still on the list. And when I'd go see them, I'd give them a bag.
Yep.
And, just keep the relationship going. And, just we're friends. Just because they cut me off, I still like the guys.
Yeah. And you
We
keep those
still
doors
have,
open, and you never know
yeah,
what'll happen in the future, right?
right, exactly.
Pardon the interruption. We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I've got to tell you about the sponsor that we have today, Humminbird, Humbird, humminbird.com. There's a link in the show notes. They provide services for all your trademarks, corporate setup, branding, marketing, and tax advising, as well as we enter that time of the year where taxes are on the mind of especially those of us here in the United States. How do you most efficiently handle the challenges of making sure you get all of your deductions, taking care of all your tax concerns, making sure you do it right without paying too much? As an e-commerce seller, as an Amazon business building warrior, they've got some incredible services that you should go check out at humminbird.com. That's spelled HUMNBIRD.com. Let's get back to the program.
I still like the guys.
Yeah, and you
We
keep those
still
doors
have,
open, and you never know
yeah,
what'll happen in the future, right?
right, exactly. So we just, we've kept growing the Walmart along with the other. We do it out of the same warehouse, the same team. We we'll focus on Amazon for 2 or 3 days, and then we'll switch over and do Walmart and get the product out. And we've never created any listings on Walmart. I know others that have done that, but ours is we've just been finding products wherever we're already buying and trying them out on there. And we've got some lines that do very well. We actually make more money on toys on Walmart than we do on Amazon because the margins are better.
Yes, I've heard the same thing. Actually, the guy that our lead coach and trainer on Walmart strategies in our community right now is Joseph Kelsey. And that's what got him onto Walmart initially. Was he'd gone really deep on toys a few years ago, and suddenly the safety certificate issue got him. And Amazon's like, we need safety certificates for 80% of the toys that you've sent us. And they sent them all back because he couldn't contact all the manufacturers in time to get all the safety certificate paperwork. He's like, I'm just going to throw these on Walmart and see what happens. And they outsold anything he was hoping he'd do on Amazon, just tossing them over there. And they sold like crazy. And he's like, I'm going to start doing this Walmart thing a little more. Now he's one of our foremost leading experts on the topic in the community. Toys, the hot toys, absolutely. Existing ASINs. Again, this isn't rocket science. I love that you pointed out you're not setting up new listings. You're not bringing new products to market. You're just selling the same boring stuff that everyone else is already selling, easily sourced, trying to find some pricing advantages. I'd say that's your secret sauce is you build relationships, you order in bulk a little more than maybe some of the people might be comfortable. You get relationships with the vendor reps, and you're having those conversations. How can we save 10% here on shipping by working with someone local? So you start with the product in mind, and you try to get the cheapest price you can, and then find the good ASINs for that product on Amazon or the good listings on Walmart. It's a great strategy, but it's a very relationship dependent strategy, which you've really dialed in. You said you were an introvert before, but one-on-one, man, you're a master.
Well, I'll tell you an introvert story. This is from years ago. I went to a trade show. I had no reps there, so I didn't know anybody. I think I spent 3 hours walking the middle of the floor.
Avoiding eye contact.
Boy, did I catch without talking to anybody.
Right.
I don't do that anymore. And, people ask me, I've had them ask at the conference and stuff, how do you get the conversation started? And I'm afraid to talk to people. And I said, it's easy. You walk in their booth, they
Yep.
will start talking to you. And they said, oh, well, that's easy. I can talk to
All you
somebody
got to do is
who
stop.
talks to me, but,
Yeah.
I just don't know how to start it. And I'm up front with them, tell them we're selling e-commerce. We do Amazon, we do Walmart, and, don't try and hide the fact or anything that we're doing that, because you don't want a warehouse full of stuff and then they say, oh, well, you can't sell it, and because you didn't tell us that. And so, but yeah, so, I would just as soon be alone a lot of times, but
Sure.
I've developed that as I've gone along and gone to the trade shows and different things. And as I've
I've
gotten
got a
involved.
mentor of mine, Doyle, that he pounded this into my head many, many, many years ago. He said, if you try to do business, doesn't matter what the business is. If you try to do business as an introvert and you lean into thinking that it's okay to be shy, you're shooting yourself in the foot every bit as much as if you tried to do business while not having any math skills. I don't want to ever do math. I want to have a business, but I don't ever want to have to do any math. I don't want to have to do any pricing or any balance sheets or any tax, or I want to avoid all. I don't ever think about numbers, but I want to be in business. It's like, no, it's not going to work. Same thing with, you can be an introvert. That's great. I mean, half the population of the planet are introverts, right? There's extroverts and introverts. I'm an introvert, but you can't use that as an excuse to be shy. You've got to learn those basic skills. You got to get out there and have those conversations, because failure to do so will greatly diminish and hinder, to the point where one of the questions, I don't know if you've ever heard me say this or not, Doyle, but if I'm assessing someone's business and they say, I'm kind of struggling, or if they say, oh, things are going great, I could tell if they're struggling or going great without them telling me or without seeing the numbers, just by asking a simple question. How many new people are you introducing into your life right now in your business? How many new vendors, mastermind members, conversations on Zoom with fellow sellers? How much of that did you do in the last month? And say, I really haven't done any of that. Well, okay, skills and databases and spreadsheets aren't going to get you there. You need relationships to do business the right way. You just do in any business. So that's one way I can assess a business is, hey, how intentional are you right now adding new relationships, business relationships specifically, into your life? And if that's growing, your business will be as well. If you're ignoring it, you're going to struggle. You just will. And I've seen it time and time again. So I love that you've overcome your proclivity, your default setting of just walking down the middle of the aisle and not making eye contact. Like, hey, you know what? Every conversation I have is potential money. Every conversation has potential mutual beneficial relationship, right? Business is built on those. And even the story of the caramels with your wife, like, that's brilliant. Yeah, a little something that sets you apart, makes it a little harder for them to let you go. It's like, oh man, if we drop Doyle, we're going to lose the caramels, man. Now we got to keep that guy in the account, right? Those little things matter. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
brilliant, man. Well, I'd love to hear a little bit about your team, and let's share go wherever you want. But we haven't really given people kind of a feel for the size of what you've got going on. So whatever way you're comfortable, you're one of the big achievers in our community, and I probably mentioned that in the introduction. But paint a picture for me a little bit, just to inspire people. What can this be for someone who goes down this path?
Well, when we got started and quite a ways into the journey, VAs weren't a thing. So we built the local team. We have moms that work for us. We have grandmas that got tired of retail or whatever, just we're looking for something so they can talk to people. We have quite a few that are college age kids that are working their way through school. Right now we have, I think it's a team of 19 in various aspects of prepping and sourcing and boxing up all the stuff, doing the shipments and that kind of things. And they're kind of spread over that geographic or demographic. We have a lot that just work part-time. One of the things that we started, I think 3 years ago with the college kids is we built an incentive program of, if they reached a certain level of prepping for the quarter, then we institute a scholarship program where we actually pay a certain amount towards their schooling, which they've really enjoyed that. Some of them hit it, some of them don't. And so we actually have a really fun team and we do a lot of fun things. whenever we hire somebody, we have lunch the first week they're there and they get to pick the place. We do that on birthdays, Final Four. Everybody does their brackets, and the winner gets a $50 gift card to the place of their choice. 3 or 4 times a year, we do a trivia, like 25 questions, like Academy Awards. We have 25 movie questions. Whoever gets the most right gets a gift card. We just have a lot of fun with the group. And we've had some that have been here 7 or 8 years. And, it's maybe not the most fun thing to sit in the back and prep product all day long and put it in a box, but they have a good time doing it. They enjoy the company. They don't have to they don't have to work nights. They don't have to work weekends. If they need to go to the Halloween parade for their grandchild, they can go do that. So right now that's where we're at. And we kind of split them between Walmart and Amazon. Some got a couple that just concentrate on Walmart, the rest on Amazon. As far as, we never really had an idea of how big this would go. This mentor that I had at the beginning, he said, he was telling me about an account he had that was doing 10 million a year on Amazon, and they were making about 10%. So he says, you can do the math and figure out what that is. And back then that was like, might as well have been doing 100 million.
It seems so far out of reach. Yeah.
Yeah, where we were at. But we've just kept growing the business and kept growing it. We started doing LTL, and then we got into doing full truckloads. And so now everything we ship out of our warehouse is a full truckload, even to Walmart.
Wow.
We've gotten to that point, which is a whole new set of problems, especially now with this new inventory placement fees. Our last shipments, because Amazon created a mess. Everybody wants to go to the cheapest place, and in order proportion of it seems to be West Coast. So trying to get appointments in the West. So our last shipment was split among East Coast warehouses, but we were able to use Amazon Freight to get it redirected to a warehouse in Michigan. But because we can't get any appointments in the West, 2 weeks ago, we had 2 trucks left the same day because they'd been rescheduled, Salt Lake to Phoenix. And they both picked up within an hour of each other, and we had appointments to deliver them the next day. That was 2 weeks ago. And that night, we got emails from Amazon Freight telling us, sorry, there's no appointments. Those are now scheduled to be delivered on November 5th.
Wow. So your truck's already gone, guys.
Truck's already gone. So it's going to go sit in the parking lot. Wow. And one of them is still sitting there. The other one, they actually received it. And so it's selling, but we've got 10,000 units of product on that truck sitting there in their parking lot,
waiting to be received
for 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's got to get spread around.
Sure.
So
Q4 mess, man. Right.
Yeah.
But so do you guys do any merchant fulfill to offset some of the chaos of Q4?
We've done a little bit, but very little. We actually did some on some products that weren't moving on Amazon and that weren't on Walmart, just to keep them up there, see if we could sell a few. And then we had a back order came in from a vendor for a Halloween costume 2 weeks ago. And it was an expensive one. And we threw it up there, merchant fulfilled, and blew through all of them just in a matter of days. Yeah. So we're still on the fence of how much we want to do merchant fulfilled come Christmas time, but we're trying to get product in and get it in there ahead of time.
Right.
So we're right now, we send 2 to 3 truckloads a week out of our warehouse, and we have 2 other sellers in the area that do pallets. And if they're to go to the same warehouses, then they bring their pallets to our warehouse and throw them on our trucks.
Gotcha.
Helps them.
Charge them a few bucks to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
I love
helps
it.
them. helps them,
Absolutely.
helps us. We fill the trucks faster.
Exactly.
And
Again, another relationship thing. Who in your area is doing the same business? That's why local mastermind meetups are just so invaluable.
yeah,
You know who in your area is kind of involved in the connections. You guys can save each other time, make money together, and offload opportunities. One of the coaches on our team here locally hurt himself. So my warehouse picked up his business and, hey, we got it until you're back to health, right? Like you can't just pick up a phone call to a stranger and set that up. It's got to be people that already know, like, and trust you, and you can do those kind of things together, right? I love it, man. It's beautiful. Something
and
else I love about you're busy. Go ahead, man. Finish. No.
that's one of the things that that I've enjoyed about going to the conferences, is the relationships, and why I've kept going to all of them. And
Yeah,
like you said before, a lot of times it's what happens in the halls or what happens at night, not necessarily the sessions. And
absolutely. That's right.
I've had lots of people say, "Well, why do you keep going?" And in fact, one of the coaches said, "Why did you join Legends?" Because you're so far ahead of a lot of the beginners and everything. But I learned things from everybody, and I like sharing, and I've gotten more involved in the Legends. I've met a lot of people. I probably have more phone numbers in my phone that are from this community than outside of it, just from
Right.
people and
Right.
some that go back to my very first conference that I ever went to.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it's fun to keep in touch and to bounce things off them and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the newbies who come into the community. I mean, I say it all the time, and I don't know if people believe me or not when I say it, but one of the reasons I've remained so passionate about sharing this business with other people is because those new sellers, not every single one of them, but I would estimate 1 out of every 10 to 20 new sellers that come into our community end up opening up an insight or an opportunity or some kind of new discovery that never would have occurred to me otherwise. And they say, "Hey, what do you guys think about this tool? I've been trying it out." And I'm like, "I've never heard of that tool. What are you talking about?" Like, holy cow, I didn't even know that was out there. Or they take one of our strategies that we thought could do X and they go do 10X with it because they didn't know any better than not to try. And they come back and like, "Hey, this really works great over here." I'm like, "What'd you do?" "Holy cow, how'd you make it that big?" "I didn't know you could do that at that level." And they just did it because no one told them they couldn't, right? They don't have all the false assumptions built in. So I learn arguably as much, if not more, from those people who are in the first 6 months of their journey than I do from the old timers, because we're all kind of thinking the same at some point. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to do it this way or it'll never work. Well, the new people come in and they try it the other way and it works. And also like, whoa, okay, when did that start working? So yeah, I love the energy of everything from the new clueless sellers asking, the timidly asking those, what they think are stupid questions, all the way up to, the guys doing multiple truckloads a week. And everyone assumes you know all there is to know, but you've got the humility, Doyle, to say, no, I don't. I want to learn new things constantly. That's an advantage. That makes for a great, healthy leader of an organization too, by the way. Never afraid to ask silly questions, hang out with people who are new and learn from them. Yeah, I think that's why you've had the success you've had. I bet everyone on your team would say, "Yeah, Doyle, he's a humble dude. Humble dude. If he's got a question, he's going to ask it. He doesn't act like he's too good for this thing." I can just see you prepping right alongside your team, and I mean, I just know you're that kind of guy, man. That's why you've had the success at the level you've had. Yeah. So, what else do you want to get into, man? We've had a great episode, and I really appreciate your time. Was there anything else that you wanted to share today? I mean, I could talk to you for 3 more hours if time allowed, and we definitely want to have you back. But and I do want to point out one thing that I remember being very impressed with you about is you've accumulated a whole bunch of credit card points. You're legendary for your credit card point status. Like anytime you got to go anywhere, you fly free, stay free, drive free, right? I've heard the stories. You send people on your team when they get married. You're very generous. I'm just going to brag on you a little bit with you. Hey, I'll cover it with points. Go wherever you're going to go, and I got you. I've heard those stories about you, man. Talk to me to the degree you're comfortable about that, just briefly, and then close with whatever thoughts you had as well, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Well, it's kind of turned into a hobby or a passion for me too. And we've just used the credit cards. And as I've learned, if I'm not going to a proven conference, I'm going to a Points and Miles conference or a trade show. It was just a one last weekend with a bunch of people and learning how to use them. And we use the credit cards, but we have the philosophy that the credit cards are a form of payment, not a source of funds.
Right.
And so we use them, and we have enough credit cards that almost every day one of them is closing, so we can use them to extend our payment terms. Every time we get paid for Amazon, we're actually on a weekly payment with them, and we get paid on Tuesday. And Tuesday or Wednesday, we pay off all the credit cards that need to get paid before the next payment comes in, so that we keep them current. One of the things, and I haven't dived into this as much as some other people do, but a few years ago, I got introduced to the Profit First. The Profit First for e-sellers gave me a headache, but and we basically just do two things with that. One, we put away some profit every week out of every deposit, and we put away money to pay our taxes, so that when April 15th comes around, we don't have to worry about the taxes. And then we use the credit cards, we use the points. Like you said, we do. Employees know that they're not supposed to buy a plane ticket for a funeral last minute because they're too expensive. We'll cover it with points. We've done honeymoons, vacations, other things for them. And then we do it for ourselves. I've done a lot of traveling this year, which, I still come to the office most of the time when I'm in town, but I like the flexibility of being able to travel, do things. 5 years ago, right before COVID in November, my wife came home from a trip in California. I was down there when they had really bad fires. And she got home, and Monday she started feeling crappy. By Wednesday, she was feeling really crappy. We took her to the doctor, and they said, "Well, you've got pneumonia, even though the tests say you don't." And so they gave her some prescription. But by 10 o'clock that night, her eyes were glazed over, and she was kind of out of it. So we took her to the ER. 5 weeks later, we brought her home, and I went that 5 weeks without spending a day in the office into November and December, which in my previous business, there's no way. And
Yeah.
I spent every other night with her in the hospital, and my daughter would do the other night, and then I'd spend every day there. They brought me in a table, and so I set up my computer and did my work there. 3 weeks of that, almost 3 weeks, she was actually in a medically induced coma.
Wow.
So she didn't even really know I was there, except for she did, because the nurses said she slept better at night
When you were there.
when I was there. She knew I was there.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't have done that before. There's no way.
You and I talked offline today, Doyle. I look at some of the challenges that my family has been through, as well. I can attest how I don't know how I would have done it with a real job. You can't just say, "Hey, guess what, boss? 5 weeks, I'm out." What job lets you do that? But with e-commerce, what a blessing it is to be able to have the flexibility, the team that you've built, and you work it when you can. Take your laptop with you. I say I stick my business in my pocket. My family just went to Florida for 10 days, got a great Airbnb, took all the kids, paid for most of it with points. I'm not a point king like you. I paid for most of it with points and just did a little bit of work, as time allowed. But to be able to be there with your wife in the room while she's recovering from a serious health incident, and know that your business is not a concern. It's not drifting into chaos. It's in good hands. It's going. Your checks are still rolling in. The inventory is still going out. What a blessing that is, man. I hope that encourages and inspires others. That's something to aim for. Congratulations.
We're all in a different place, and we're all in this for a different reason. Some is to just buy groceries. Some it's a business. And like I said, I had no idea that this was going to end up where it is, and that I was going to have this many people and do what I'm doing. And it was just, if you want to do something like that, you just got to get in the race and slow and steady, and just, don't try and hit a home run. Just build it, be patient, and it'll come. I mean, we've had so many experiences, and yes, we pivot about every 6 months when Amazon changes something. We have to pivot, and we just come up with something different and see if it'll work, and then it does. So it's just
because the shoppers are still shopping, and there's always more of them. There'll be more of them tomorrow than there was today. Hopping online, spending money. It's a good arena to be in, right? You pivot. I say every time there's opposition, there's opportunity. Every single time. I've been doing this 22 years, Doyle. Every time there's opposition, as soon as you calm down, take a few deep breaths, like, wait, that means these doors are now wide open over here that weren't before, right? You just got to take your time, pivot, like you said, and keep pulling forward. Great stuff.
Yeah, and there, people talk about, is RA dead, or all this kind of stuff, and it's there. And a couple of things that we've found is we actually compete with Amazon on certain products.
Sure.
More in the fourth quarter than the rest of the year, because they seem to share the buy box more, because they're concerned about getting it there as soon as possible. Right. And if our inventory is closer than theirs, then they'll share it. Or a lot of times they run out, and so we sell it the last 2 weeks. And another, I guess, area that we've tried to focus on a little bit is products that are bought as gifts, like for Valentine's Day or even Christmas. We sell a line of little jams in little jars, and I would bet, I have no statistics, but I would guess 90% of them people buy and send it to somebody as a gift.
Right.
They never see it. They're not price conscious. A lot of us think, well, we can't sell it for that much. We'd be ripping them off. But like you say, you're providing a service and they're willing to pay for it.
Convenience.
Convenience. I mean, I had a neighbor one time tell me that he had 3 bathrooms in the house and one of the toilets broke. And he said, I just ordered the parts on Amazon. I wasn't going to waste my time running down to Home Depot and getting it.
Yeah.
I maybe paid $2 more, but it's all about the convenience and the service we're providing. And
someone did the math. Jeff Bezos did the math one time on it used very conservative minimum numbers it was his annual letter to investors about how many hundreds of billions of dollars Amazon saved people in convenience alone, not having to go to the store. It was amazing. The fuel, time, right? Uncertainty, having to go to a second store oftentimes, right? The time spent researching and comparing. It's like, hey, people just hop on, click a button, boom, a couple hours later, in many cases, it's on your front porch. Even that's getting faster. Drones are coming, man.
Right.
And, so imagine you click a button, half an hour later, it's on your front porch. People are willing to pay a few bucks for that convenience. And that's the margin where we exist, is people who want convenience. If someone wants to spend 6 days shopping, price comparing, and finding all the coupons, that's not our customer base as Amazon sellers. It's people who say, I need it as fast as possible. What are my options? Oh, look, 2 hours from now, I can have it. Yeah, boom, buy. They didn't compare anything. And you've served them tremendously. I mean, for all we know, that was $300 of value of convenience, because they didn't have to get in their car, put their dollars in the back seat, go to 3 Walmarts, find the coupon. Like they don't have time for that. They gladly would have paid far more than they did. And we know it because they paid the price they did. So yeah, we're providing a very valuable service. And I often say, I think the Amazon resellers carried our culture to a degree through the COVID era. The convenience.
Exactly. Yep.
People were just like, I can't, I won't, I'm too afraid. I can't possibly get out. I won't go out. But, oh, look, it's on Amazon. Okay, yeah, done, sold. We provided a lot of stuff. And the puzzle craze of the 2020, everyone's getting their puzzle. That was an Amazon thing, dude. That was Amazon resellers banging down the doors of the toy stores, going to the back loading dock and say, give me all your puzzles. I'll help you sell something. Since you can't open the front door, open the back door, get the puzzles, throw them on Amazon, right? And we heard those stories. Yeah, so I love being a reseller. And you exemplify just the heart of a leader with humility, running a very profitable business, and you're doing it with excellence. And it's just an honor to be in a community with you, man. I really appreciate your time today. Was there anything that you wanted to wrap up with? I do need to get going here in a couple minutes, but any thoughts or?
No, I think that's just be part of the community. I love the community.
We
You
love
know,
having you.
I've met so many good people, and I'm not a Facebook person. In fact, one of the coaches sent me a message, and I didn't see it for 3 months because
Yeah.
I use Facebook at the conference and
Yeah.
a couple other times, but I've really enjoyed Jimmy's new format with Legends because I find that if I get on Facebook, I get sucked in and I'm there forever.
You get
Just don't
sucked
have
into
time.
sidetracked and all that. Yeah, that's one of the
And
downfalls.
so I tell people, if you want to get a hold of me, send me an email, send me a text, or send me a message and hope I see it. But I just
Yeah.
I've got so many people, so many friends through the community. It's just been a joy, and I'll keep coming back and keep interacting, and it's just like you say, if you try and do it alone, it's a long, hard road.
It is.
Yeah. Just one thing that like was going back to learning because we put our blinders on and just plow down the road. So we put our blinders on and did Walmart just like we did Amazon. We stickered everything. And then I was at one of the conferences, or I don't remember if it's Legends or somewhere. Somebody said, well, you don't have to sticker all the stuff on Walmart. And we were stickering everything, even Walmart, you don't have to sticker the grocery stuff. We have probably saved 70% of our prep time just on that one tip.
Yeah.
That I
It
wouldn't
doesn't
have
get
got.
commingled either. It doesn't get commingled just
No.
because you don't sticker it. They keep it separate. You don't get mixed in with everyone else and potentially sell some bad product. Yeah. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
such a
so
great tip.
if we'd been, doing it on our own, we would have never got that tip. So
Yeah. And that probably saved you over the course of a year, $5,000 to $7,000, just say in employee costs, or maybe even more significantly.
more, yeah,
right?
it would be well more than that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So one little tip, one little
just,
conversation.
just be open to learn and hang out.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, looking forward to see our next event, since you brought it up a couple of times, Doyle. The last 3 days of May 2025, theprovenconference.com is a website. Get your tickets if you don't have them yet. We're going to gather. Last year, we had about 750, 800 people there. Doyle, you were there, and you haven't missed one since, you've been to what, 8 or 9 in a row now, something like that?
8 or 9, yeah.
And it's the longest running annual Amazon seller conference in the world at this point, believe it or not. Pretty crazy. We just keep getting together and suddenly we're setting records. But yeah, it's a great group. A lot of very humble, genuine people, and just honored to have you around. And to whatever degree you want to step up more into leadership role, dude, just saying it publicly on the podcast, the doors are always wide open. But you're a busy guy with a lot of commitments, and but we just love having you in the group. And I'll say more. I'll stick a link to Legends as well in the show notes, and we'll have mentioned it in the introduction as well, so people know what that's about. But man, God bless you, buddy. Good hanging out with you today. I really appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll just talk to the listeners for a second. If you enjoyed this conversation, I've got really good news for you. We've got hundreds of interviews with the successful students from our community who have used this community, leveraged the relationships, the content, the coaching from this group to build beautiful businesses. And we sit down and have conversations with them. That's what most of our episodes are. As we approach 1,000 episodes, the vast majority of them are conversations. So if you're new around here, jump back in time, hear more of these great inspirational stories. Hopefully it encourages you to go perform and build something special online. God bless all the business building warriors like you. We will have another great episode for you very soon. We'll talk to you then. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Before I let you go, one last reminder, humminbird.com, today's sponsor for all your trademarks, corporate setup, branding, marketing needs, and yes, tax services as an Amazon e-commerce seller. Book a schedule appointment with them today to take care of all those paperwork things that you don't want to have to mess with. They're really good at it. They'll take good care of you. Tell them I sent you. Humminbird.com, HUMN